the girl doesn't belong to the family. Venture money didn't exist in India. And even if you want to take debt, you'll be surprised at, what kind of reply I would get from a bank. There's a stupid logic that was given to me was, you doesn't belong to the family. This is bullshit.
You are on the PumaTRAC app next to Virat Kohli and Lewis Hamilton.
I had no context or idea that there would be only two Indians on it. When it came out, it was a surprise to me too that, it's like everyone's dream job to be in a multinational company. And I mean, I was at good positions. They were very rewarding, but I just felt like I needed something of my own.
You are literally the face of vegan fitness in India.
Post 35 years of age, you should be building muscle as much as you can because that's the best anti-aging thing that you can do to yourself.
People see your wins, but there are losses as well.
I've been trying to lose a sense of myself, lose a sense of my identity, whether it came as donating my hair. So I had really long hair in 2021. I just decided to just chop them off and donate my hair. I made a ton of mistakes. Wrong investments, trusting wrong people, burning money on the things that have zero value. Things are going super well for me. I decide I'm going to leave all this. What am I doing with my life? This does not make sense. Whenever I'm going to a conference, I make sure that I'm wearing something like a skirt or a pink. I remember someone asking me, he's like, oh, you're all dressed all pink today to an investor conference. And I'm like, yeah, it's because I have a vagina. I'm screaming it out loud. The standard of care for PCOS is giving birth control pills, and they are given to preteens with no scientific evidence or long-term research done on what's the consequences of this. And if I had an opportunity to invest in anything, I would want to invest in long-term women health and actually funding research.
Hey Nidhi, welcome to Creator IRL. I'm really excited to have you here. I was going through your journey and it's absolutely wild. From chemical engineering at Johnson and Johnson to company like Cadbury, then fitness entrepreneur, and now you are a VC as well. So I just want to rewind a bit and then ask you where it all started. Let's start from the beginning only, when you left your chemical engineering journey and started to work as an entrepreneur. So what hit you? Like, why you wanted to become an entrepreneur at that time?
Part of, I feel like entrepreneurship was in my blood because although my parents, both of them, my father is a doctor, but he's served in the army, but he was always keen on doing his own practice. So my grandfather similarly had a similar path. So I feel like I was always inclined towards it. And I worked for Cadbury was my first job. I worked there for probably 2.5 years, and then another 2.5 years at Johnson and Johnson. I used to work for Ethicon. It's like everyone's dream job to be in a multinational company. And I mean, I was at good positions. They were very rewarding, but I just felt like I needed something of my own. I wanted to make a certain kind of impact. And I think when you work, especially in a very large organization, you can make impact, but it's incremental. And by the time you can make huge chunk of impact, it just takes you decades to get there. And I sort of felt like I don't want to waste so much of my time just being on that corporate treadmill, I would call it. I don't think I call it a ladder. So yeah, I just felt like, no, this is it. Now my calling is, I was passionate about preventive healthcare. And although J&J essentially is a health company, but none of the health companies, whether you talk about medical devices or pharma, they actually serve to sickness, and no one's actually in preventive health space. And that's was our primary vision for Nitsan, and I took the leap. It was first couple of years were pretty hard, as is for any entrepreneur, but I think it at some point it started giving us returns, and it was well established, and there was that reward of, oh, I'm making some change started to kick in, and yeah, it was exciting.
Being in Cadbury and then Johnson and Johnson, these are the top name in the MNC's company, and you were at the top of the game, and then you started a company. You started entrepreneurship that take a lot of strength. A lot of people are inspired by that. So that leads me to my next question, that you have also recognized as Business World in India's 40 under 40 list, right? Looking back at your younger self when you were starting out, you also said that initial years were pretty hard. I don't think people have imagined that after few years I will be in 40 under 40. So what was your thinking at that day or at that time? Also, if your younger self has gone through your journey, Was it a surprise for her, or she already knew that, okay, I will do this, don't worry about it?
My younger self would say, "Why did it take you so long?" I anticipated it would happen faster. I think, when we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about raising capital. Now I see the world is very different from what it was. And I'm talking about 2009. So it's almost, 17 years ago now? Yeah, 17-ish, 16, 17 years ago. It wasn't the same thing. You could not, first of all, like venture money didn't exist in India. And even if you wanted to take debt, um, it's surprising. You'll be surprised at, what kind of reply I would get from a bank. They would, even if I was a taxpayer for 5 years, they don't give you debt if your guarantor is your father, because there's a stupid logic that was given to me was, you family changes because the girl doesn't belong to the family, and I'm like, this is bullshit. So the company had to be bootstrapped, and that's why it took that many years for the company to scale, because we never raised capital, and that was pretty much founder money that and then being able to be profitable at like an early stage. So I would say at 25 I didn't anticipate that that's what I'm up against. And that was India back in 2009. I think things have changed. Now it's more acceptable for a woman to be a founder. It's more acceptable for women to be the primary bread earner, or, she can have more individuality than just who you're married to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I think things have been changed
Things have changed. Yeah.
because right now I also have met a lot of incredible women. I have talked to them, and their journey was also incredible. But to be honest, all of them have to go through certain things because still there is a male dominancy, and it's not about India only; it's globally. So yeah, but if I want to become something, I will be. So there is a way now. For the next question, I was going through the research and I found out that you are on the
Hmm.
Puma Track app next to Virat Kohli and Lewis Hamilton. First of
Hmm.
all, I'm so proud of that and congratulations to that.
Thank
So,
you.
how does a girl from an engineering background and from India land a global Puma deal? And what did you teach about being in the business world yourself?
Um, well, I wouldn't say that it's been an easy journey, but I always think that if something extraordinary happens to you, it's never just hard work. I think it's hard work and luck. So I would say I was with another brand when Puma pitched in, and they hired me for a campaign, which was 2016, I guess, the first campaign I did with them. And it was like, yeah, I was like available at the right time, and that happened. And the campaign was a hit. It was the Puma Do You. We did um, I think Jacqueline was leading that campaign at the time, and it was about doing a world record in plank, and we did get the Guinness World Record. That was the first campaign I did with them. So I was renewed for a year contract, and then um, I started doing stage stuff because I could do it. They asked me, and I was available, and all that happened. And then we were talking about PumaTRAC, and the time that I was going to go for a shoot, I think I was told in ADHM, so it's like October and November, that this is going to be shot. And I think this shoot schedule was January first week, so I think and my passport had expired, so I had to renew my passport, apply for Schengen visa, barely made it on time. And I was going back and forth with the production team, so I had no context or idea that there would be only two Indians on it. Like, I knew that there would be athletes, but I thought there would be, like, I don't know, 20 athletes maybe. But the first round I think had probably a single digit. I don't know, maybe 9 or 8. So when it came out, it was a surprise to me too that, oh, no one else. Okay. So yeah, I would say that it's just a combination of, like, you keep doing what you're doing, and at some point somebody recognizes you, and when you get the opportunity, you just take it, as opposed to being scared about it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Even when I started shooting podcast, I was very afraid of camera, but now I'm a bit comfortable in front of it. So everyone have their stages. So yeah, okay. So we already talk about the entrepreneurship and the business world you were in, but you are also in fitness industry, right? You are
Yeah.
the literally the face of vegan fitness in India, which is the, I think, very bold stance, because in a culture, in our culture, people think that no meat is equal to not no strength, right? You have to eat meat for protein and everything. So when critics come for you, what is the scientific engineering response you give them? Or what do you tell them that, okay, vegan food can also be healthy or also, full of protein and everything?
hmm so how I sort of approached it and how I started off, like in the beginning, it was more for ethical issues than health. And I feel like health is a byproduct, which even I faced. I feel that my health outcomes were much better after turning vegan, but primarily I'm vegan because I just don't say that I love animals. I actually do. So I just try to not do anything that's harmful to them or harmful to them in any way, which means, giving up even milk and eggs and anything that comes, even honey. So I think now, again, I feel like things have changed in the last 1 decade. So now there's more acceptance and also there's more options for vegan people. So I think it's easy to sort of defend and easy to um, ask people to make that change. I've also been a huge advocate of not pushing anyone or not like having any judgment because I practice yoga, so you do practice non-judgment. I don't have any judgment for anyone who does consume meat or dairy. My only comment to them is, I have a lifestyle. I can show you how I do it. And if you think this resonates with you and the cause resonates with you, you can start by making some changes. It doesn't need to be like even like, a black and white. Like there's a middle path. So that's always been my thesis. And I think, yeah, like I said, like, I've always shown it and I'm like I do it, so maybe you can try, but it's like it's a personal choice. And I think this is a very personal choice. Like who you close your eyes and pray to and what you put in your mouth is 100% your own personal choice. So if you don't feel it in your heart, you wouldn't do it. So my job, if you say, I hate the word, but my job, if I say as an influencer, is to be able to resonate that emotion in you, and then that change should come internally.
Okay, so you just talked about yoga, right? And I think you are trained in Asthana Vinyasa Yoga, if I'm pronouncing it right. So maybe it's called the Yin Yoga, and also strength training. So how do you blend these different modalities in your personal practice and teaching?
It's more of a spiritual practice than just a workout. We talk about benefits of it, like, it is, at the end of the day, it's a sort of a resistance training. And I do, as you said, Ashtanga yoga. And Ashtanga is a harder physical practice, so it does involve a bunch of strength training, but Ashtanga has like 8 limbs, and like the asana practice is like one limb, and the other are, how you live your life, how you conduct yourself, how you breathe, how you meditate, how you respond to different things. So yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's more of a spiritual practice. I do still lift weights because I think I like the idea of being strong. My father used to lift weights, my brother lift weights, and this is just seen in the family. Been doing it. Like I started lifting weights at 17, so I've been doing it for so long. I just like the idea of it. Again, I feel there are health benefits to it, especially like I'm turning 42, so I think post 35 years of age, you should be building muscle as much as you can because that's the best anti-aging thing that you can do to yourself. So I do strength train 4 to 5 times a week, but yoga is a part of my spiritual practice. So it sometimes turns in the form of an actual workout, but even if it doesn't, either will be breath work or something I actually do with my life. So even dincharya is a part of your yoga practice. So, waking up and getting your things in order, cleaning up your desk. It's all, for me, that all that part is part of yoga.
Right, just being calm, whatever makes you calm, right?
Yeah.
And you said you are turning to 42.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. You really don't look like you are turning 42. Okay, so we have already seen, like, when you are on camera, no, people see your wins, people see whatever you have achieved, but there are losses as well, there are learning as well. So, what was the most expensive mistake you have made while building Nation, or while building, while doing other things that you are doing in your life? And that did it change how you look at money, or how you look at life or something?
Mm, I'm sure, like in the early days of Nitsan, I think I can't even like put my finger on how many mistakes we made. Like we made a ton. Wrong investments, trusting wrong people, literally burning money on the things that have zero value or return. There have been like many instances of that sort. And I think, I started building the company at 25. I think when we fully launched, I probably would have been like 26, but I think it's still pretty young and you don't have a sense of the world and you make a lot of mistakes. And I think I made a ton of mistakes. You know, you learn a lot by those. So um, yeah, that all happened, and I think it continued to happen. I think it took 5 to 6 years to sort of refine in term and understand what your customer wants and what I what are you trying to build. So yeah, there have been mistakes in terms of like wrong employees, wrong people working for you, all of that. I think it's a part and parcel of running a business, and so many times the business has been run to ground. um if in India, so many things have happened. COVID happened, demonetization happened. All of those have had impacts, negative impacts in business. We didn't shut down in COVID. Like, we were physically shut down for 10 months, didn't fire anyone, was still, keeping everything, keeping staff. So yeah, like those things are hard. Like you were, and I was working hard to do stuff, pivot and do stuff online so that, we can still go on to pay people who work in a brick and mortar business. So yeah, but those hard things do happen. But I think over years, especially with the practice of yoga and meditation, I think I've evolved and reached to the idea of not attaching my identity to anything, especially anything physical. So I think for years I've been like trying to lose a sense of myself, if that makes sense. To lose a sense of my identity, a part of my identity that I heavily resonate with, just to be able to dissociate myself from it and see myself from a different lens. Whether it came as donating my hair, so I had really long hair in 2021. I just decided to just chop them off and donate my hair because I think big part of my identity was my hair. So I was like, if this is not there, what happens to me? And like even moving countries and going back to school and just pivoting my career to finance, it's like if you'd asked me 10 years ago, you probably would I would have said I'm never going to do that. And I had a good life, like a very comfortable life, very well settled life. Things are going super well for me. I'm earning really well, and I decide I'm going to leave all this. I'm going to go back and have a restart at the age of 39. And when I came to Canada and went back to school, it just felt like, why am I around all these kids who are like half my age? And what am I doing with my life? This does not make sense. And I think I sort of sank in that feeling for 6 months, but I changed and I set out to do something hard for myself. And I'm doing something that like, again, 25-year-old Nidhi would not have thought that I'd be an investor. I would not have turned tables, but yeah, that happened.
You have challenged yourself a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Even for normal, when people move abroad, it's very challenging. And when you have certain things in your mind that I will go there and I will do this particular thing in terms of anything, business, acting, whatever you want to do, it take a lot of strength, a lot of mistakes for sure. So yeah, okay. So I think you have handled a lot of clients as well in terms of diet and everything. So was it like, is there any client story that still gives you goosebumps? Like when you think about it, okay, their journey, he or she maybe, their transformation journey was something that people should listen to and learn something from it.
Yeah, again, I feel like these are so many to count, but I've seen personalities change, people change, like 360, like 180-degree flips happening. There was a client who I think I started with them back in 21 or 22, and they have been my clients till date. Um, at first, they came to me to lose weight because they were overweight, and like till like a few weeks ago, I was working hard with them to figure out a six pack. So, that's a transition I didn't see coming. It took years to get there, but like this is like a complete 180-degree flip in personality choices. So this person consciously chose to do this. Even though like family is saying that, you look good enough, you don't have to. The person's like, no, I think I could do better. Let me go and, I think he was shooting a campaign or something. So, from completely being somebody behind the scenes to being someone who's ready to like face the camera and shoot with other people. So yeah, uh, many stories like that. Unfortunately, we have a confidentiality agreement with most clients, so I can't share names. But yeah, there are a lot of such stories.
In your journey, you have monetized everything from clinics to brand deals to businesses and everything. So for a creator who is listening to this podcast and stuck on in this ad era that they are only dependent on brand deals and getting lot and lot of brands, how should they start diversifying their income? Like, do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, I think the creator economy has also become like movies. You had three superstars that everyone followed and said, I'm going to be a superstar. And if you go by statistics, there are only a few people who make it to the end of the bell curve, and the other remains in the average, which is like I think 85% of the population. So if you're committing something, you have to understand that you need to be good at that, not like slightly good. You have to be like exceptional to get those returns. So if you're willing to do that as a creator, um, then great. And also, one has to understand sort of like economic cycles. Everything has, you know, there's a life cycle of a product and there's a life cycle of trend. So, creator economy can only work when someone is looking up to a creator. When everyone becomes one, there is little paying power, because at the end of the day, it's like, economics of things is like demand supply. So if there's high demand and you're doing everyone chasing after the same thing, you're going to get less returns. So uh, you need to think about all those things before you take big career decisions. For me, I would say, yeah, I've always tried and strived to have like multiple sources of income and sort of monetize everything that is possible, but I've never relied on one source. I don't think I ever, yeah, I mean, I've never associated myself as being a pure creator. I think I was a business person who has a side gig. I still think of it like that. Like I would do two or three things at the same time. But those are not vastly different. They have to be, I'm in the same niche, so my expertise does not, you know, become overly diluted, but I'm figuring out different ways to do things. Does that make sense?
So I was just saying that if you put all your eggs in one basket, no, there is a chances of failure for sure. But you have to diversify your income, your whatever you are doing. So that's it's a bit interesting one. Okay, if you could put a billboard in every
Mm.
city of India to debunk one single fitness or nutrition myth forever, what would it say?
That you need to go on and off a diet to lose weight.
Okay, on and off. You don't have to be all the time.
So to make fundamental changes uh, in your lifestyle, anything that you do needs to be thought of something long term. So it's not about making drastic changes to get quick results. It needs to be making small changes sustained over a period of time, infinitely, I would say, as long as you live, to get the sustained result that gives you the benefits in long term.
Let's wrap this up. I just have two more questions for you that I really wanted because you have an incredible journey. You have worked in different industries. So I just wanted to ask one question that came to my mind that as a woman in a male dominated field, like literally occupied the bro dominated space, engineering, fitness, and then the VCs, What barriers have you faced and how you navigated them?
I feel like at different stages, it's been different things. When I was starting off as an engineer, just to give you perspective, in my class, I think we were a class of 120 with 20 girls and 100 boys. So the
Okay.
male female ratio is pretty skewed. And most girls who end up doing engineering just go and they never work in the core engineering fields. They, at least in India, that's the case. Actually, that's true here as well in Canada. They sort of pivot and do something like they would do a master's or a PhD and become a lecturer, but they wouldn't do the core engineering job because that requires you to actually go in factories and harsher conditions and all of that. When I joined Cadbury, I think it was 40 men and 2 or 3 women. Again, very skewed. So I feel like in the initial years when I was doing my core engineering work, I just feel like you just almost had to be a man. You pretend to be a man, like you want to blend in, not have that sense of like, oh, I'm a woman, I have some perspective, and it's different from you, but I'm not like a. And I think of early 20s, I was not confident to even share that, but I was headstrong. Uh, but I was almost perceived like as a bro. Uh, and I sort of even liked that identity because I never wanted anyone to hit on me. So I was like, okay, let it be a bro. Um, but I think when I started my own business, it gave me freedom to be who I was in a way that I could express myself. And I was not like, my brother was my co founder, but he's very feminist himself. So I had no limits. So I had that whole like almost a decade and a half, I had like complete freedom to do what I want to do. The only constraint I had was like when I went to a bank and they told me that, I need to be married to another family to give me guarantee, but nothing of that. So now that I work in venture capital and I work in a developed country, but the ratios are, you're screwed here as well. It's very, at the highest level, it's very male dominated, and I would say predominantly white male dominated. So, there are not many people of color here. That dynamic is changing, but I would say that's a slow change because, again, this is like a big boys club almost because that's where the money is. And yeah, the narrative is changing, but it's still there. But I guess the change in me that I have from being in my 20s, where I would just try to fit in, versus like having that spend my 20s and 40, like almost to the 40, I was in control of the narrative. And I think now when I join venture, I think I have no interest to become like someone else because I'm so set in my own ways that, I enter a room and I'm like, I'm a woman. I have a perspective like a woman, and I'm not pivoting it because you want me to be a bro. So I think that change has happened, but it's taken me years to have that narrative shift happen. But um, I guess, and I think correct me because I feel like you're much younger than me, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like the narrative has shifted a little for women. It's not as bad as it was 2 decades ago.
It's not that bad. Now you have your wings, but still you have to push the barriers. If you are on a top of anything, even you are just trying out, no, people will use their orthodox thinking of body shaming, of saying, "Oh, you are a woman." On the ground level, these things are still there. But yeah, if you are a woman, you have the wings now. The industry has changed because of you people, that you have changed a lot of things. You have pushed the barriers that give us the motivation that if she can do it, I can also do it. The people like you, the women like you. So I'm super happy and super proud that I can talk to you, and I had the opportunity to talk to you. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean now even if yeah, like I will share like something. When I go to conferences here again here to um, most often even not everyone, but most often you'd see when women dress like men. And I make sure that whenever I'm going to a conference, I make sure that I'm wearing something like a skirt or a pink, and like it's screaming top to bottom. Like I don't shy away from putting on makeup or painting my nails. And I'm like, I work in finance, I have brains, but I'm also a woman, and I bring in a perspective. And if like I remember someone asking me, he's like, "Oh, you're all dressed all pink today." to an investor conference, and I'm like, yeah, because I have a vagina. So I'm
Right.
saying it, I'm screaming it
Yeah,
out loud.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all about my preferences, right? It's not about if I want to wear pink, I will wear pink. If I like to be in creamy color, I will be in
yeah.
creamy color as well. So that is something. I think being in corporate world for like 4.5 years, although I will say that I was so lucky, the male people around me pushed me to go to my best. Even the company I am working with is, I think, one of the best company. But I also know some of the examples of my friends and my co-workers that have to go through a lot just because she's a woman, just because like there is a thinking that you can't do this. You are a woman, you are not supposed to do this, and that is what makes me angry that if you are thinking I can't do it, I will do it. Just wait and watch. That leads me to my next question and the last question, and I just want to ask, like, if you could invest or build one thing that doesn't exist yet in health and wellness space, what would it be?
That's a good question, and I think a deeper one, and I think about it all the time. This is something I think I even started writing about like a few months ago on my Substack, about women's health. I feel like there is a lot that's happening in FemTech. There's a lot of companies coming up in FemTech, but I feel like we're still light years behind what we should have been. Like funding hasn't gone in to programs that it should have gone in. Just to give you perspective, we know PCOS is an all-time high that it used to be. Like it's surprising that the standard of care for PCOS is um, giving birth control pills, and they are given to like preteens with no scientific evidence or long-term research done on what's the consequences of this. Does that lead to any complications for them later on? They're like, there should have been a study because this has been happening for like at least 2 decades. As I know it. Like for 2 decades, I've seen teens, young girls in their early 20s go on birth control pills. Those women are like at this point closer to 40, hitting perimenopause. But imagine we had all that statistical data today. Would have we would have figured out better ways to manage this. So I feel like there are so many gaps like that in women's health, like even perimenopause. We had a study come out which said hormone replacement therapy leads to breast cancer, and we started doing no hormone replacement therapy, and then after 5 years it was rolled back and said no, that statistical evidence is for like 65 years and plus, so that's not perimenopause, so you should do it. But it's just, I feel like there's a lot that needs to be done, and these are fundamental research questions that someone should solve. Unfortunately, startups are doing it and venture capitalists are funding it. And I think that's not the way to go about it because it doesn't fit well with the VC business model. And I think it sort of would sit well on a research model because you need not a decade, but decades of data on and like long studies run on control cohorts. That has not happened. And if I had an opportunity to either work on or invest in anything, I would want to invest in like long-term women health and actually funding research so that the results that come out are not like, oh, I found a little bit of a gap which I can capitalize on, and I'm gonna start selling it and monetizing it before I actually know what the long-term consequences is. So I think I would prefer that to be my next project.
As of now, I don't know, I haven't done the research yet, but I think most of the women's and girls in India, I don't know about the global data, are suffering from PCOS and PCOD, and this happened in this decade only. Maybe before that, it was not transparent, it was not, people were not aware of it. But now, I think I think I have six friends, three or four of them is suffering from PCOS and PCOD, and they have to suffer a lot. They really have to suffer a lot. In a lot of things, they have to change their diet, they have to change. In periods they are having a lot of cramps, they are having, it's really, I can't even describe their pain. So yeah.
We had a clinical practice for in preventive space for almost a decade and a half, and we saw the numbers go up every year. So it is a real problem, but I feel like there's still not like a viable solution to it, and it's still very much hit and trial. We know that lifestyle is changing, and our it's largely sedentary. Stress levels are going up. All of that is contributing, but we've not singled out, oh, this is the cause, and that's what you can do. It's still pretty much like, try this, try that, try this pill, you know, change this diet.
Yeah.
It might work, it might come back. So, yeah.
Yeah, have the haldi water pani and everything. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's wrap this up. And I just want to say, Nidhi, this has been incredible, really incredible talking to you. Thank you so much for being so transparent about the wins, about the lessons you had between this journey. And I can't wait to see which industry, especially the one you described right now, you disrupt next. And I also can't wait to see you on my next episode as well. I would love to have you and talk more about it. For now, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me.